1358. You know what that number represents? 1,358 days since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And you've gone from being the pinnacle of the league to a laughingstock.
It's the live post-game show. Following the live post-game show with Derek Gunn, Mark Farzetta, and Devin Caney, the Eagles normally impose a 48-hour rule. Here at JAKIB Media, we impose a 60-minute rule before we get into the second level of conversation. Dan Sileo from the National Football Show joining me to kick it off tonight. We're presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com, use the keyword JAKIB, and get 15% off of a 1-liter bottle. Dan Sileo joining us here tonight. We'll get 15 minutes of great conversation from Dan Sileo. And then, of course, we'll let you know about tomorrow's edition of the National Football Show. Dan Sileo, I want to begin tonight with Fletcher Cox and his words in the postgame. I don't get paid to play screens. I get paid to get sacks. That from a high-priced, savvy veteran, all-star, who finally is boiling over with frustration, I assume. What do you make of it?
Well, Joe, when I was with Jimmy Johnson in 1989 and he came into the Dallas Cowboys, he made sure he fired every single person that was in the locker room, the person that was dealing with jocks and socks, the person that was dealing with the players when it came to personnel and Tex Schramm, and also Gil Brandt, and every single one of those people he fired. What you have as a problem here is because people will be standing in a corner, and when things start to go south, as they have obviously after 7 games here, there's no question this season is completely over. The Philadelphia Eagles are already eliminated from any kind of conversation when it comes to postseason. Your season's over in 7 weeks. 1358. You know what that number represents? 1,358 days since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And you've gone from being the pinnacle of the league to a laughingstock. And how are all over. Players are talking this. There's no leadership inside the locker room, and you've got chaos. And what you have is John Madden used to say back in the day, the rats come to the top when the ship's taking on water, and you see who jumps off. That's what's happening here. It's completely imploded. There's no question. This game was a joke. This season has been a joke, but it was constructed this way. You know, we talked about this on the National Football Show on Friday. Joe, I'll throw this at you. Looks like the same offense to me from a year ago to today. But the only difference is that you fired a Hall of Fame, you fired a coach that won a Super Bowl, and you got rid of a quarterback who you lost confidence in. Okay, for what? Training wheels, head coach, a quarterback who was signed to be a safety belt for Carson Wentz. Nothing more. He was never signed in any way whatsoever to be a premium guy. And we're sitting here on a Sunday talking about the same crap that we do every single Sunday. We could take some of the JAKIB Media postgame shows. We could line them up, Joe, and they would be the same stuff. Nick Sirianni sucks as a play caller. The talent around him's not playing. Now you got guys chirping in the corner. It's the same postgame. Nothing's changed, and nothing will change because the general manager handles and controls the entire football team. He controls the personnel on Sunday. He's part of the hiring process of the assistant coaches. He's involved in the game plan. I mean, dude, you're a GM. Act like it. The Eagles are in chaos 1,358 days from when they won the Super Bowl this organization doesn't resemble itself.
NFL insider John McMullen on the live post-game show earlier tonight. Dan Sileo said this team is dying death by 1,000 cuts following what he witnessed. Of course, John McMullen was in Vegas for the game, and now the criticism, even on the network broadcast, was intense, specifically for the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Defense is your wheelhouse. You played the position at a high level. You were drafted into this league to play on the defensive side of the football. I know you know football, but I know you know defense better than football. That's your position. What is going on? Why is the defense so vanilla? Why is Fletcher Cox coming out and making a statement? I don't get paid to play screens. What is happening on the defensive side of the football, Dan?
There's no question that the personnel is not lined up with what the coaching is asking them to do. And Fletcher feels uncomfortable in Jonathan Gannon's system. It happens all the time. Joe, you see this. I mean, let's just take a look at the Dallas Cowboys, for instance. A year ago, Mike Nolan had the Cowboys working in a 34 front and had them working in a particular way, two gapping up front. They were just getting run over. What does Dan Quinn do? Dan Quinn comes in, puts up more of a sense of urgency type defense on display. The Cowboys have gotten better, especially when your quarterback is able to handle time of possession because they're running the ball better. There's no question the offense has helped the defense out in Dallas. You know, people are looking at that going, why are the Cowboys better? Dak's back. He's able to control the clock, and the defense is getting a lot of 3-and-outs. Right now, you're getting a lot of pushback from what Jonathan Gannon is asking this group of men to do with his particular style of defense. There's no question he's a believer in non-penetration. He's a believer in linebacker coverage and also in secondary coverage. Well, when you do that, you have to have the personnel to do that. Derek Carr ate him up, man. I mean, they were more effective on all of their plays. Nothing was really out of hand. Like, it was like 378 to 442, 323 in passing yards, 223. Obviously, that's a number that has to be better. Jalen was terrible today. They ran the ball a little bit better. Okay. But the Raiders went, like I said, for 323 and 119. That's balance. You want to try to get around 125 when it comes to your running game, and you want to be over 310 or 319 in your passing game. They were more effective on third down, and they didn't have a lot of 3-and-outs when it came to being a ballet routine. I mean, the Eagles have I don't believe it's really even a college offense. It's a 3-play offense with different disguises, and these RPOs and these screenplays, they were so predictable. 18 of 34, 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. Looks good on a stat sheet. But when you're thrown from behind like that, it's terrible. I mean, 31 of 34, Derek Carr was. Look how efficient that is. And they ran the ball, and they stopped the Eagles on third down. I mean, look, I look at Jonathan Gannon, and I see Nick Sirianni. I don't know. I think maybe Temple has more of an experienced coaching staff than what this is. These guys are clearly in training wheels right now, and they're learning how to defend as coordinators. And then you have to look at Sirianni. He's got to stop as play caller, turn this thing over to somebody so that he can manage the team. Every single time that a coach gets hired who's a play caller, bro, you better have a guy on that other side of the football like Sean McVay did when he hired somebody like a Wade Phillips. Frank Reich did the same thing when he was at Indianapolis. You want to be the play caller? Okay, well, make sure that you have a veteran guy on the other side of the football. You have 2 guys that are younger than some of the players that are on the Eagle team. Joe, I look at it and I'm like, it's so predictable on both sides of the football, lack of pressure. It became predictable. Roll them right, roll them left, RPO, middle screens, and really not trying to go deep. And when you went deep, it was a rouge. You ran the ball in the first series. Great. You got to run the ball in the 15th series or the 10th series to keep everybody at bay. It became so predictable. I'm sitting here watching the game going, hey, man, if I'm a coordinator, this is like coordinating a high school football team. It was so predictable.
I think it was Jonathan Vilma who was actually doing the game for Fox, and I know you know him, Hurricane,
Very well.
10-year career in the National Football League, begging, pleading, asking, pointing out for the defense to not be so vanilla, for the defense to put some pressure. At one point, identified the Raiders running the football right into the heart of the front four and barely being touched. I mean, that's what was happening in real time, Dan.
All right, Joe, I'll say it here. No one in Philly will. Defense has stopped playing for that coordinator. They've stopped playing for him. Here, I'll give you, for instance, when you're a non-believer. See, Joe, here, playing football and playing a defense or playing with a coach that you trust is blind faith. It's like believing in God. You have to believe that there's an ever after, and you have to believe that you have this great desire to see the afterlife. As a football player, you have to have that same blind faith to believe that this coach is going to put you in a position to have success. If you don't have that blind faith, you're never going to win. And the Eagles are in a position where they don't believe. They're non-believers. They're looking at the scheme. That's not what they do. They're a penetrating type front four. They don't have the linebackers. The players know that. They're limited in the secondary, and yet the staff is trying to execute a game plan that will not work. They're doing it on offense, too. These guys have a system set up, Joe, where they believe that it's like jamming a square peg in a round hole. They believe that they're coming out even during the week going, we really don't have the quarterback that really can run the offense that we're looking for because he's limited. Then you had the defense coordinator saying a couple weeks ago, we can't play nickel. These guys have all these off-ramp excuses on why they're not winning. Now, look, do I believe the personnel's on the Eagles to win? No, I don't. I think their linebackers and their secondary need to be completely revamped. And I would say this, on the defensive side of the ball, the Eagles need to replace probably 9 out of 11 guys. I mean, you just do. These guys are going nowhere. The scheme's not helped. And if you're going to keep this coaching staff, you need to replace them. There's nobody on that team right now playing NFL defense. And you can see it, especially as the game goes on. You could say whatever you want about what I'm saying. Here is my eyeball test without evaluating and without the analyst, in me here. Jalen Hurts is not good enough. Your running game sucks. Your play caller sucks. Your offensive line, okay, it's good. But how do we know? Because the quarterback in the running game sucks. Your front four is fairly good with Hargrave. Your linebackers are D's. Your secondary, C-. Your special teams, D. Howie Roseman's got 3 picks in the first 10 picks. Jesus criminy. If I were the owner of the Eagles, I would evaluate on who's rolling the dice for me. Because at least in Vegas, you have a 50-50 shot of potentially winning on rolling the dice. With Howie in the last 3 years, Joe, they haven't drafted a Pro Bowler. And they fell into Jordan Mailata. I don't know. Where are you going? I don't see it.
It's the post-game show here across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with Dan Sileo. One last thought. from Dan Sileo, and then we'll let you bounce out of here. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports will be with us on the other side of the commercial break. Two thoughts from the live post-game show, Dan, and I'll get you to react to them. Derek Gunn said this team is getting worse. He could live with the 2-7 or a 2-5 team if the team was making progress. They're getting worse. Mark Farzetta called this team a dumpster fire. And I put that in the context of this team is 2-5 with the winless Detroit Lions chomping at the bit for this team to get there.
The Eagles are not beating the Lions. If anybody's under the notion that Dan Campbell doesn't have his guys believing. By the way, Dan Campbell, first-year head coach with no wins, has his team on a weekly basis believing that they're close, and they are close. To me, it reminds me a lot of what Tony Dungy did when he went 0-8 in Tampa. These guys are buying into Dan Campbell. You're not beating that Lions team. They are fighting tooth and nail every single day. They're not giving BS comments about I'm paid to sack people. You're hearing people like Chris Spielman, who's the president of the team, saying we're close. They are close. A couple of years ago, Brian Flores ended up beating Seattle and the Eagles a few years ago. Team was rolling in the right direction. Kind of falling back a bit over this whole Tua and Deshaun Watson stuff. Dude, the whole football thing with the Eagles has fallen completely apart. There is no question about it. Okay? When you watch this team as they are going through the motions, not beating Detroit, this football team will be lucky at the end of the year when teams are resting players that they'll be able to win games. By the way, Carson Wentz is on pace, and they were winning against the 49ers tonight. Wentz is on pace for 4,400 yards, 103 quarterback rating. They're fighting to be a playoff team. I don't know with what the Titans are doing in that division, if they're going to catch him, but he's getting better every week. Driving rain tonight. You fired Doug Peterson, the head coach who won a Super Bowl, for this? I mean, where now, if they would have come clean and said, look, we're going to blow this thing up so we can get the top pick in the draft. Okay. I mean, that's not going to fly in a city like Philly, but at least there's a plan. This, it just looks like, I don't know, Joe, it just looks like they thought maybe Hurts would be better. They thought the team and the roster would be better. But again, this is when a general manager sits in the owner's box and picks up the sheet with the players on it, hands Jeffrey Lurie the sheet and goes, the guys I'm picking are the right guys. The guy that's coaching him is the wrong guy. Well, eventually, the owner's got to do this. I got to tell you, man, that's not really the case. We're not good. Matt LaFleur couldn't come in here and coach the team. Matt LaFleur is 32-7 with Aaron Rodgers. When you have a decent quarterback, you're going to win a game. When you have a coach that's learning and a coordinator on defense that's learning, dude, I don't know where you're going with this. Joe, I just don't see it, man. I'm telling you, this 2021 season has been one of the worst seasons, I would say, since the Rich Kotite era.
Wow. Post game show here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Right back here tomorrow. Dan Sileo with the National Football Show, 4 p.m. right here. It's must-watch television every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Dan Sileo with the National Football Show. Great stuff, Dan Sileo. Thank you, bro.
You bet, Joe. Thank you so much, brother.
All right. Good night to you.